what we have here is an X90. The X90s, they look the same, the facial, and you think it's just got a bigger water tank and a grinding holder. As you can see from up here, it's got a very large grinding holder, like 3 to 4 times bigger than the standard size. Not only does it have a bigger grinding holder, it's got a much larger water tank in it. Much larger. Now, it's not just looks. Once you pull away this water tank and the grinding section, that unit there looks fairly similar to the standard units, which it's not. Inside this unit has a larger boiler. It takes longer to heat up, but therefore can make coffee after coffee after coffee with the same temperature, unlike the smaller household boilers. Now in here has all bigger internal parts to last longer, stronger, and make better quality coffee over a longer period of time. Now I'm going to be pulling this apart, showing you how to fix it. I'm going to go through all the basics, the standard issues that you get with these coffee machines, from only coffee getting out of one of these nozzles, the steamer not producing any steam, leaking from different sections, here, here and here. Now if your coffee machine also, it doesn't look the same. Most coffee machines have different internals. I do have other coffee machine videos, so please click on my videos and have a look around. A lot of these issues caused by these coffee machines failing or wrecking is due to poor maintenance. The lines end up blocking up and popping off, and you can prevent this by using a coffee cleaner. I have a link just up there. Click on it and it'll show you how this works and how good it is. Using a powder form is a little bit more quicker than using a tablet form. Tablets, they look cool, but just take longer to dissolve in the water. Okay, so getting onto this, I'm going to get straight into it and pull it apart and show you how to fix it, the main issues. Now, if you have a slightly different issue, I'll show you the gist on how to fix these and service them, so it'll give you enough background knowledge to fix your issue as well. Take off the back cover. There's 2 special screws back here. You need a specialised tool to take it off, but if you use a pair of pliers to grasp the end of the screws, squeeze down tight and twist it, you will be able to remove them. With this model here, I suggest you wait a couple of weeks and get the specialised tool, because you will scratch your back cover. If you don't really care about your cover too much, you can get it with some pliers. Put all your screws in a little plastic container. Make sure you don't lose them all. Cover comes off. Now at this stage, what you want to do is very carefully plug your unit in, make yourself a coffee. Kind of locate where it's leaking from which hose. Now this boiler maker was leaking this section here had completely snapped off and it was leaking water everywhere. This connection here is rusted up and corroded, so that needs to change over. And it's leaking from the seals on the boiler maker, so I'm going to pull apart that unit later. That's my issue, so find where it's leaking from. Top's fairly simple to take off. That comes out. I don't think these are the original screws, because not one of these Juras I've ever seen with Phillips screws in them. Plus they look so tacky, so I'm going to replace these with some screws that you find on the back covers. Got a little container. That comes off. That comes off. That you can take off. Careful not to drop these screws down the grinder or down the powder drop. If you got coffee grindings in the top of these screws, it's best you pick out the coffee grindings with a little screwdriver. Saves you from threading everything. You need to take out this top section. flathead to do this. Okay, that comes off. Needs to come off because there's 3 more screws underneath there that you must undo. Now, this coffee machine, you don't need to take the side covers off, unlike the other Jura coffee machines, to see all the internal parts. And if you need to remove the base, and the base has 4 screws underneath. You're going to lose some coffee beans there. You can get a vacuum cleaner and vacuum all this stuff out here and at the moment, because all of it's just covered in gunk, and it'll suck out all the coffee beans to stop them going out everywhere. You want to get a little pen and mark this across here, because if you put this in the wrong teeth, the settings will be out slightly. So pull that out. This rubber seal here is disgusting, and clean that out. This is for people that want to replace your grinder, or check how much life your grinder's got on it. It's a quick process, so I'll quickly do it. There we go. Now if you want to replace your grinder, buy a new grinder, as you can see, and undo the 2 plugs from down the bottom, mark which side the plug's going, or else the grinder will run backwards, and you change it over, simple as that. Now if your grinder has stopped working, its cheaper option, which I've done in the past, is to put new brushes in it, or bushing brushes, and they're located here with a little spring. So you pop out that spring and then you slide in the new brusher, and they just go in there. Now I can see this has got about 50% life to 70% life, so I'm going to pop that back in there. I'll tighten that up again later on. At this stage, if you know where you're leaking from and you can see it simply from one of these hoses, just fix that. You don't need to continuously pull this apart. Later on in the video I'm going to get to the front section and show you how to service and lubricate it all. So you might as well just sit through it and watch and get a few more ideas. Now this here is a big problem with these coffee machines. What happens is these hoses rattle around so much from this little compressor, and eventually these attachments wiggle out. Now I'm going to show you how to fix and rebuild one of these, because they cost you about $100. So I'll get to that. Now we're going to remove the whole section out of here. It's the easiest way to get to this here. So if you need the parts, go to the description in the link below. You'll be able to get any of these parts. And for the coffee cleaner, there will also be a link in the description. That'll last you a lifetime. There's a ton of it there. So you want to remove the hoses. You will get some water on you. Before you get started, you'd like to take a picture, just so you know where everything goes. These hoses here, what you need to do is pull and push that little clip in at the same time, and that'll allow you to pull that hose out. Okay, that one's off, that one's off. You can use little bits of tape with numbers on it to mark where the wires go. So what I'll do is here, just pull this one off, put a number 1 on it. This one here, number 1. Number 2. You want to remove everything that's in its way. Let the few things that you can undo that you don't need to be so obvious with marking them, like these two clips here. These wires here. These look like all negatives, but I'll still mark them because I've got the tapes there. I won't mark these ones, I feel comfortable with those. Power cable there, and probably that looks clear, clear, clear. So up here can be removed. No, I'll leave that one in for now. Where are these going to? This one here needs to be removed, and so does the blue one. So green. That can have a number 4. That can have a number 4. That can have a number 5. And that can have a number 5. Okay, now all that's cleared up. You're good to remove this, but before you remove it, spin it around. You got one Phillips screw right in there that you must undo. Back around. Okay. That's pretty much it. Oil makeup. One screw there. One screw there. One screw there. That'll free up this. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to run through with you with this. This side here was leaking because the hose here wasn't a good hose and it was rusted up a little bit. And that's here, you guys can't see it too well. What I'm going to do is I'll chop that off. Now I don't want to, instead of getting a new hose, this hose has got enough length in it, so what I'm going to do is cut it off with the Stanley knife and cut it like I'm cutting like a loaf of bread. The reason why I'm doing this is so the hose doesn't actually buckle or break in any certain way. Now you guys can see the end of that. That's as you can see, it's corroded and rusted. So that's what you're drinking out of. Now I've got a new hose in this pouch here. What I'm going to do is, it's a shorter one, I'm going to replace just that end bit in the old hose and that'll fix the problem. So sometimes you got to be a little bit, where is it? Good. This one here. Okay. That'll fix one of the leaks. Now, the major leaks that I was getting was from this system here. What happened was, this whole piece here had snapped off. Now the reason for this is these pieces under a bit of pressure, temperature, a lot of temperature change, and they've got little tiny threads on them that have been threaded into here and they pop off real easy. Problem is, once they've done that, you can't screw them back in. Now, for an example, the bigger version of it just here. So I'll grab. Those look like this, pretty much. As you see, one side's got a thread. So if this is wrecked on yours, and you had the same issue with this coffee machine, how I fixed it, one of these units here costs $100 delivered to your house. How I fixed it was, I disassembled this unit. I pulled it apart, took the 4 bolts out, plus all the little sensors. The 2 screws here that run through here are most likely rusted in. You got to pretty much chop them off and get new screws, which I did. That's what I'm going to be replacing at the moment now. Then you grind this section down here down a lot. So what that does is the thread actually digs deeper into fresh aluminium, making it grip nice and tight like new again. So that's what I've done. I've ground this down a lot, maybe 1.5 mil, 2 mil, and the thread has dug into new thread, and that's gripped on like a nice good tight seal. So that's fixed that problem. So there's a cheap solution to fix that for you. Now you could be leaking from seals in here. You'll need to undo these screws, wedge it apart slowly, and then replace 2 seals in there. There's just 2 rubber seals in there, and that'll fix your leaks in there. You don't need any scissors or pliers, it looks like this machine's been worked on, and they put a little tie there. They're a bit tight, but work that out. So, what we got here is the inside of the coffee machine. Now, there's not too much in here that you need to know. Pretty much, if you aren't pretty much producing steam, you follow the line all the way to the back, you'll most likely, this line will be blocked or has come off at the back, causing water leaks. Also, you could find that it could be blocked from this point here to that point there, so you can easily remove this, clean it inside out, and that will fix your problem. It's no more difficult than that. It's quite simple, and usually it's very simple things where you expect to see something blocked or undone. We've had this issue plenty of times where as it's frothing it sucks something up, it blocks it, and then the pressure builds up and pops the hose off at the back. So expect to see that. Now for the issues with only pouring coffee out through one spout, it's due to it's blocked up here on the second one. So what you can do is just from behind, unclip it and clean it out, and that'll free it all up. Now what you want to do is actually undo it, and in that way, there's a few screws there. Just undo the few screws and it comes straight out, and you want to clean that out properly, because if you don't, what happens is there's a whole amount of gunk in there, and once you've seen it, you do want to clean it. So, that being said, all here looks good. Now, I'm going to grease this main shaft up here. I can open this cover up a little bit more, but I just don't want to. So you need to use a food grade grease in here. That's Vegemite. Vegemite. Aussie owned, Aussie made. It's got a weird taste to it. Okay, food grade grease. Now a lot of people don't like using grease on this shaft. Say they can smell it, they can taste it in the coffee. I don't complain when people don't want grease in their machine. I don't put grease in the machine. I've used all different types of grades, brands of grease. The people that don't want grease in their machines, they taste it with all the different types. Don't go using car grease or any other type of grease. So use a food grade grease, preferably a coffee machine grease that doesn't smell, when heated up at all. Okay, so if you want to grease up your shaft here, I recommend you do it if you want long hours out of it, but if you just like your coffee, don't. Put a vacuum cleaner in here and suck out all the grindings in here and on top and clean it all out. Then you can go and apply a bit of grease on the shaft here, back and front, and let that lubricate a little bit, and that's pretty much all you need to do. Anything else wrecks with your machine, it most likely 80% to 90% it's just you got something blocked up from one of these hoses, or a hose has come off. If not, it's the Boilermaker or a little attachment that you can buy and easily replace off the link below. And